to perform a reinforced French seam on a piece of leather. To start, you're going to take 2 pieces of leather of the same size, and then you're going to mark 1.5 centimeters from the edge of the leather on both pieces, and then you're going to skive them down to make the leather less thick. Once you've skived down the pieces of leather, you're going to take the faces of the leather and put them back to back with the skives together. On the edge here, ever so slightly, you're going to put just a little bit of glue on this, and you're going to stick the pieces of leather together. And you'll see later on why we do this, but we just want to make sure that we can hold these pieces together. And I like to take my knife and just run it across the top of the leather here ever so. And that just allows for the glue to adhere better when I'm sticking both pieces together. And now we can just come in with the glue and just put a very faint line of glue along the edge here. We'll glue those tops where we scrape that piece of leather off. Just try to get as even as possible. Now, once the glue is dried, you'll take the piece of leather, you'll open it up like this, and you're going to bend the glued pieces of leather over, and then bend it over to the other side. Essentially what we're doing is we're trying to find the line where we're going to punch our holes. And so by doing this, it just makes it a little bit easier to see where that line is. And so what we do next is I take my wing divider and I set that to the distance of that line I want to make. And then I just go ahead and draw that line using my wing divider. Next, we're going to take our pricking irons and we're going to stitch down the length of the leather. So I'm going to go ahead and punch the holes and saddle stitch this. I do have a video on saddle stitching if you do want to watch that if you're unsure of how to saddle stitch. Now, once you get done sewing your piece of leather, what we're going to do is you're going to take a sharp object and you're going to open up the glued edges that we glued earlier. And we don't have to really be too careful here just because this piece of leather is going to be on the interior, and usually we're going to just cover this up with a fabric. But the idea here is that we'll have these flaps that we're going to actually glue down on the inside here. And this is going to be for our reinforced stitches, which we're going to cover here in just a second. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take some glue and we're going to put it here on the flap. And I like to put some on the other piece of leather as well. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now, before the glue dries, we're going to go ahead and push down the flaps. And then we're going to give it some nice little taps with our hammer. Now we can take our wing divider, and I like to set it at 0.3 centimeters distance. And what we'll do is we'll take that center line and we'll take the wing divider and draw a line going down the length of the leather on both sides. And this is going to be the line that we use to punch our reinforced stitching line. Next, you'll take your pricking irons and you're going to go ahead and punch holes down the length of the leather on both sides. And you want to make sure that you leave a small gap on both sides. That way you can have a stitch line running the opposite direction if you plan to incorporate this into, say, like a purse that you're making. Now, my audio decided to quit on me here. So what we're doing is we're just punching our holes and we're just saddle stitching both sides of the leather. So once you're done stitching, you're going to have a line going through the center here, which was our original stitch line. And then you're going to have these reinforcement stitch lines going down each side. Now, the last thing that we need to do is we need to peen the stitches just to make sure that they lay flat, and then we'll be done. And that is how you perform a reinforced French seam on a piece of leather.